Peace and blessing, everyone. We are live. Thank you for tuning in. Let me help you, a loved one or friend, find your vegan soul through food, people, events, and culture. We're talking about Black vegan women in business. How are they coping in 2025? Their growth, their challenges, their opportunities. I want to play you a little something from one of my dearest friends who had a call out the other day. And hey, I'm here to help.
Video. Very soon, I'm going to have to put a halt to making smack and oxtail, and it's the tariffs. I've been absorbing the cost on the increases of that to try to not have to raise the price of the oxtail on you guys, and it's something I can't afford to do anymore. One of the ingredients that we use initially went up $4 on the case price. I accepted it. I had my team purchase a lot more because we knew that this was coming. That same ingredient that went up $4 went up $14 the week after. And now another ingredient that we use has gone up $32. And it's hurting a lot of businesses. I'm one of those businesses. I'm just trying to support my community and keep my head above water. We've been using the same recipe since it started right here in this kitchen, all the way to present day with the manufacturer. And I just need some time to figure out something that's affordable for everybody, but I can't do that and keep up with orders. So I've done everything I can, from spending my own money and going into personal savings. I've lessened certain ingredients that we've used, and I just can't do that anymore. And I don't want to sacrifice the quality of this amazing product or have to raise the prices on you guys. What I want to do is halt production so that we can have time to do research and development, come up with something that's comparable or better. Until then, it's not goodbye. See you later.
Well, Sunny, tell us what's going on. And we got my mama's vegan here, Debonair Wyatt. But we're going to talk with Sunny now about what's going on. How have you been coping? You know, the last time I interviewed you, you were in the vegan track queen space. You've grown like that was you. That was a couple years ago, right?
Right. I think 2 years ago was the last
2 years
interview. I still
ago.
have my locks.
Exactly. And you have grown so much in the past 2 years since that interview. Please talk to the people. Tell us what's been going on with your growth, these challenges, the opportunities that you face. What's going on here?
A lot has been going on. So we really pivoted. I was doing selling meals and different things like that. And I kind of got out of that space because I felt like that was moving towards, someone who wanted to have a restaurant or a food truck. And I don't want either of those things. And I initially started, before I made oxtail, I made steak, vegan steak. And so I literally just made it because when I would be selling meals, the price of getting, the Gardines and the Beyond was like too expensive to get from just the grocery store to like make any type of profit when I was selling food. And also, they only had like certain things, right? Like the Gardine fish sticks had just come out. You had Beyond burger, but there wasn't really anything that was like culturally relevant, like oxtail and lamb chops and all that stuff. All of that stuff you had to make yourself. So once I started making the oxtail, people started asking me, they wanted me to ship it. That was in the pandemic. So I was like, okay, cool, because I was already selling. I was using Beyond to make meatloaf, and I was already shipping that. I was shipping mac and cheese. I used to make ribs. I was shipping the ribs. So then people were like, well, can you ship us the oxtail? And I was like, okay, that was such a novelty and a niche product. And then I used to only do it certain times a year because it was so late. It's it still is labor intensive, which is another reason we pay laborers, the people who manufacture the oxtail. They make $18 an hour, and I've always wanted to be someone who I felt like was paying a fair wage to people. Um, and the oxtail is still made by hand. It's not made by my hands, but it's still made by hand. So I am, doing the best that I can to pay people fairly during these times, because I know, as much as going on for us is as much as is going on for them as well. And two of the products that we use, these tariffs came out, and a lot of people have been saying, like, well, you can't even really see what the market is going to do yet. You haven't really been affected. And I'm like, well, number one, yes, I have. This is my life. I definitely have been affected. And number two, if you're in the food space, you know that I've been affected because you've been affected. You go to the grocery store, your eggs are higher. Green bell, baby, I ain't never seen a decimal point with a number in front of it for a green bell pepper. Green bell peppers always been like 89, 79, 69 cents. Now they a dollar, whatever, a pound. In some cases, I think the last one, I'm in South Florida, so I can't even imagine what the people in the Northeast, the people in LA are going through. But the last price I seen in Publix, which is like our pretty much a store if you want some good produce you will go to, I think it's like 269 a pound for bell peppers. So, it's when people say that, they're like, oh, you haven't been affected by the tariffs yet. I'm like, it's not about whether they've actually gone into place or not. That fear alone can make a manufacturer or a distributor change their prices, on top of the fact that um you're also talking about the transportation of that product. So maybe the price of it has not changed, but the price had to change for me because the gas, the trucking, the transportation of getting it from, where it comes from. And that's why I made that statement about the rice paper. So the rice paper, which is what we use for our vegan fat around the oxtail, the rice paper, we were initially paying, I think, like $2.50 per pack for it. They want up a dollar on it. Now we do purchase by the case so that we are able to get like those discounts, but they stopped doing the case discount because they started losing money on it because of the price increase that they were getting. Whether that was from the distributor or the transportation, I'm not on their back end, but they didn't want to do the case discount. So we basically had to buy it pack per pack as retail. You as a restaurant owner, if you had to buy potatoes from Safeway as opposed to Restaurant Depot for your mashed potatoes, you know how much that would impact the cost of your mashed potatoes. So if
Right.
me as a business owner has to buy something at a retail price, you know, the math is very simple of how much that would affect us.
Exactly. And when I was ordering, remember we had this conversation because you had a special, and I ordered the 2 packs
Hmm.
of the oxtails, and then there was the shipping, and I thought it was going to be here in 2 days, and it takes 2 weeks for you to make it, and then you ship it in 2 days. I was like, whoa, this is a lot. You know what I'm saying? So I can only imagine if a restaurant is trying to get it, they're going to want it like way quicker than the 14 days and the 2 days and all this other stuff. So, yeah, well, what is your workaround? Like, what are your next steps to this? Because the oxtails are banging. Like, Debonair, you're getting one. I already talked with you. Debonair's getting the pack. I bought two so I could give her one. So she hasn't had them yet, but they banging.
Yeah, so the workaround, I've actually been in the works of doing this because immediately when I saw how, the election went, I'm the type of person, if somebody shows you who you are, believe them. So I already saw all of this coming. So we had started working on another item, which is our oxtail shreds, which we'll be releasing in May. And so exact same thing as the oxtail, but it's not wrapped in rice paper. So if you're a person and you were making the oxtail and you wanted to put it in a sandwich or empanada or quesadilla, or you wanted to put it on a pizza, then the shreds is the product for you. If you're wanting to purchase the oxtail to some rice and peas or on top of like an Alfredo pasta or something, and you want that whole oxtail, situation, then that would be the product for you. And so the beautiful part about that is the oxtail shred does not actually have those two ingredients that the price increased on. So we'll be able to sell that at a cheaper price than the oxtail, have it stabilized, have people be able to use it, and you're able to get a lot more of the actual oxtail meat. So that way you can make your oxtail birria tacos. Pretty much what I've explained to people is anything that you would if you were using real oxtail and it had a bone, anything that you would do with that where you would have to shred the meat off, then you would go ahead and use the oxtail shreds. So like this young lady who did the oxtail mac and cheese, as you can see, she has the oxtail on top of the mac and cheese. But if you wanted to put it inside the mac and cheese like world famous Mac does down here in Miami, shameless plug, you can go and get my vegan oxtail from world famous House of Mac. If you go down there and purchase it, the oxtail that's inside of the mac and cheese is shredded already, and that's our oxtail shreds, which is the exact same recipe already. It's just not wrapped in that rice paper.
Sunny, how can folks get to you? Is it on the website, the Sunny Speaks? Because I want to make sure I share that with the viewers. Anybody that's looking to order, or there have been changes, let us know, how you're wheeling and dealing right now.
Well, you can go on the website sunnyspeaksvegan.com. It's my same name, just like on Instagram. So you can always go to the website. You can drop a contact message. And just know that we're navigating this as best we can. So this, like I said before, we're not saying goodbye to the oxtail. We're saying see you later. We're coming out with that new product. We want to make sure that we're giving it as much promotion. And then we also have the oxtail tips, which is when we normally roll our oxtail, the end pieces of the oxtail, just like a regular tail, those pieces are too small to sell. Like they're too small because somebody be like, well, I got 12 little pieces instead of the 12 big pieces. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to start selling those. But before we do that, I'm going to go back to selling my world famous mac and cheese. And for every mac and cheese you order, you'll get free oxtail tips with it. So you get the tip of the oxtail, 1 pound for free.
Oh man, I put the website up there. What other thing? What else are you working on, Sunny? I know you got an appointment. I'm going to bring Debonair on to kind of so y'all can connect real quick, because we were having a conversation before we went live. But what other projects are you working on right now outside of these oxtails?
Well, for one, I have my travel group. So as you guys know, I go to South Africa and do the restaurant takeover in Johannesburg every year. So this year, I've built a comfortable enough space where I want to take you guys with me and show you guys vegan traveling, because that's one of the biggest questions I get, especially as a traveler, is, oh, hey, it must be difficult for you to remain to be vegan while you're on vacation, and I'm just like, what? Like, fruits and vegetables grow everywhere and they taste better. That's no tea, that's no tea in all the shade to the states. But
Yes.
no, that's what I look forward to the most is when I go out the country. I'm like, first of all, like, not only is it tasting better, it's way more affordable. Like, when I was in Bali, soursop was $1.50. A yellow watermelon, whole seeded yellow watermelon, like $2-3. I was like, and then you're getting, of course, all your exotic fruits, your snake fruit, your mangosteen, all of these different like exotic fruits. So I want to show people, like, this is how I travel as a vegan. I still enjoy myself. I go to different restaurants. Some are vegan, some are not. And so people can have that experience. So December 26th through January 5th, we are spending New Year's in South Africa, y'all. And we are literally going to go on safari. We're going to do a clothing experience. We're going to try vegan restaurants. I'm going to do a South African vegan cooking class for the people, and I'm going to also do the private farewell dinner. So you're getting all of the things of traveling and having a private chef with you that happens to also be hilarious and amazing too. So
You are definitely amazing, Sunny. I have to connect with you because I'm on the board of Thrive Philanthropy, who's working with the continent of Africa on a lot of initiatives, and I really want them to get connected with you. So if you're out there in December, I need you to be connected, because they're giving grants to folks down there. They have in Africa vegan restaurant weeks based on the best practices that we're doing in the States here. So you and me got to talk, because I got to get you connected with that whole
let's
organization.
do it. I'm
All
also
right.
doing a trip to Costa Rica in November too, if the people want to be involved with that. And then we're working on something special for 2026. The ink's not dry on the paper, so I can't speak on that. But just think, bigger travel, more places, and think a whole lot of vegan options. A whole lot of vegan options.
I love it. Well, I got Debonair on, and I know this is the first time you two are kind of meeting face to face. If you have been to and heard of My Mama's Vegan, right? Well, here's your official formal introduction. What
Hi,
do you think
Sunny.
about what Sonny's saying,
Hey,
Debonair?
boo.
Hello. Yes, so you came to our downsize location inside of the bookstore.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, first let me just say that your video brought me to tears. You know,
Oh my gosh.
I was over here just like trying not to cry, you know, because I know that that's a hard, just being in that space before myself, you know what I mean? And the uncertainty and having to make a statement like that and just all the hard work that you put into it, you know, I was really saddened, but I'm glad to hear that you have alternative plans. And with that, it's so interesting. I have to go to this Asian market that we have here that I actually know. I actually have like two warehouse plugs. I'm going to ask them about the rice paper for you. You know how many
I
cases?
appreciate that.
Yeah, how many cases they have available. You know, I don't know how much they have, and how long it can sustain you. But that was one of my issues that I had years ago when I first started My Mama's Vegan, because I didn't know how to cook a lot of vegan food, because at the time I wasn't following that much of a plant-based diet. So I had to outsource a lot of things. And in the back of my mind, I was like, man, well, what happens if, you know what I mean? And as we had with COVID, and now here we are back with this again, and I just saw that the tariffs were up like 104%, and companies were saying that they had to email their distributors and other people that they do business with, and they had to tell them that, look, I have to impose this onto you. So to your point, everything is going up, everything is higher. Some of the food and beverage places were like, look, we're about to impose 10 or 20% price hike on you. You know what I mean? And you don't want to pass that off to the customer. And just in what you're saying, like $4 to $14, like that reminds
No,
me so much.
14 more dollars. So it went up 4 and then went 14 above that. So $18 in a total of 2 weeks.
That is just like, how do you do that? You know what I mean? Like, that's like when we had COVID and the gloves were $6 a box,
Well,
$20 for a case.
That's what platform is for. Black Vet Society is a connector and a resource place. I know Sunny has an appointment right now, so I don't want to hold you up, but this is not the last of this conversation. I want us to continue vibing and connecting as a sisterhood, because we all in this together. So let's all stay connected, get the information. And Sunny, I'm gonna get back to you on what I said about the Thrive Philanthropy Group and what's going on in Africa.
And I'm gonna
Yeah,
let
let's
Naja
connect. I'm
know.
driving to the appointment right now, so I can stay until I pull up, because clearly I'm gonna be late. But yeah, they gotta know. They gotta know that I tried, honey. I'm in this Miami traffic. They gotta know I tried.
Well, Demonay, let's talk about what's going on with you. And again, if you want to carry on a conversation with us, but I want to make sure that I highlight what's going on in your world with My Mom is Vegan. So let's put the light on you. Sonny, I'm just going to put you in the back for a second while you listen to what Debonay's going through. Okay.
Well, we had My Mama's Vegan too, which is an extension of My Mama's Vegan, was opening in Lexington Market. We're supposed to be open in August. And here we are in April, and we are still not open. We had a temporary stall that they allowed us to work out of from November up until March. But due to licensing and permit issues and all this other stuff, that was no fault of our own. We had to shut down a couple of weeks ago. And so they're actually working on, I guess, finalizing My Mama's Vegan too. But at this point, it's been almost a year. So when it happens, it happens. And so with that, I've just kind of taken the time to focus again on My Mama's Vegan. One thing that I've seen is that with everything that goes on, we have to be able to adapt, and we have to be able to move with the times. We can't stay stagnant. When everybody goes right, we got to go left.
Right.
That's really kind of been my focus. I took some time off the last couple years to really kind of focus on my mental health, my overall wellness, just because running a restaurant, as you know, is not for the weak. There
Oh
wasn't.
yeah. We 14 years in the game, so I can tell you, and you had the queen bee herself there at your location recently. Shout out to Slutty Vegan, and she went through her stuff.
Yeah.
I had just found out about her rebuying her business back. It was sold or whatever. So everybody's been going through these, you're going through your growth, your challenges, and then the opportunities are there for the taking. So definitely sending blessings out to Pinky Cole, and hoping that everything works out with the rebranding, because I love what she's doing as well. But what are your next steps now? Like, what opportunities? Because I always say, when you're set back, it's a setup for a comeback. So you
Oh yeah,
and you
I'm really taking the time to really focus on doing what I love doing. You know what I mean? I love cooking. I love being out amongst the people. I love introducing them to great vegan food. I don't necessarily like being locked in. Lexington Market, we were open 6 days a week, and when you're first starting something, you're in there about 10 to 12 hours, and I've been there, done that already. I don't want to say that I'm past that, but what I understand is that I don't want to be doing that 10 years from now.
Right.
And it's so interesting, because 13 years ago, when I took this one cohort, they were like, oh, well, always have your exit strategy. And I'm like, exit strategy? At that moment, you thinking you're going to be doing it forever. And then, after you're like, oh, my back, my legs, like I just, so now everything that I do it with the end in mind, and I want to shout out to the creators, the people like Sunny and, all of those other ones, Diary of a Mad Black Woman and Malal Eats, those who really, they take their talents and they really define life on their terms, and I enjoy that, because that's what we go into entrepreneurship for. We go into it for the freedom, and freedom looks different to everybody, and freedom for me isn't necessarily, about monetary. It's about my time, and it's about spending my time the way that I want to spend my time. So with that, I'm doing a series called Get Plated with My Mama's Vegan. So we're popping up around the city, starting in Baltimore. And it's a great time to be outside. And I never get to see my peers because I'm always working. So now I get to go and, collaborate with my peers, other great people that are doing great things in the city, bring some awareness to them and our brand. And we collaborate and do this together, because that's the other part. You can't do this by yourself. We talk about this all the time, Naja. We talk about how important collaborations are, and it really, at this time and every time, it really can make or break your business, and so I'm looking forward to being outside. We're going to be at Red Emma's on Friday night from 5 to 9, about 6 menu items. Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Mother Nature, of course, she always does our beverages, so she is going to have a mocktail on the menu. And then Red Emma's has some items on the menu, and they have the bar. So it'll just be a nice vibe. I haven't connected since I left that part of the city. I was over there for 5 years. Everyone doesn't always like to come to the other side of the city down at Lexington. So it'll be a nice way to kind of get back with the community. So I'm doing that. I have a few more lined up. And I'm also going to be doing the Waverly Music Festival on Thursdays. So I'm really just going to be outside. My calendar is the way I want my calendar to be, the days I want it to be. I'm not locking myself in to all of this crazy madness, because I've been there, done that, and I didn't pull myself out to let myself go right back in, and that's the focus right now.
I love what you're saying. I love what you're saying, and I'm going to be there this Friday, so they can get viewers can get more information at mymamasvegan.com. Right, I have a flyer up there. That's the correct information to get your information about your Get Plated series, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to put the link in the comments so people are aware of what's going on. Check out My Mama's Vegan. Check out Get Plated. That's the brand, right?
Yes, so it's Get Plated, and I actually don't have all of the dates on there now, but for Red Emma's, they can go to our socials on IG. Again, it's going to be at Red Emma's. I think they're 3128 Greenmount Avenue, from 5 to 9, and it'll be a great time. And then I'm going to start. Now I get to load an event calendar because I'll be outside doing events and not in the kitchen all the time.
Well, we got to get you to the upcoming Children's Veg Fest that we have just sealed a partnership with the Y of Central Maryland. So 33rd Street, Weinberg. We're looking at the date of Saturday, June 14th. So hopefully we can have you out there. So yes, we have connected with the Y. We'll be at the Y's Happy Kids Day here, the Druid Hill Y over in near Land and Kush. Land and Kush will be giving away food there April 26th. So I got to make sure I put that plug out. The Y of Central Maryland, you can go to their website, scroll down to the Druid Hill Y location, and April 26th is Healthy Kids Day all around the Ys, but Land and Kush will be there from 10 to 1 giving out food. So glad that you're going to be outside, because you know me,
I always miss the events because I have to, it's like one or the other. Either a restaurant or the event. I can't be at both. And now I'm like, no, I'm outside this year.
I love being outside. I love festivals. I love veg weeks. I love dinner, all that. So yes, I'm so glad you're getting outside. But I was happy I was able to see you at all of your locations in the city. When you were at the Juiced, when you were on Greenmount on the corner, when you were with Tia at the Urban Reads bookstore, when you were at the new Lexington Market. So I've been following you around, Black Veg Society is invested in My Mama's Vegan and the success of My Mama's Vegan. So definitely want to show support. What tips do you have? I know Sunny had to run to her appointment, so she dropped off. But what tips do you have for us women, especially Black women, navigating through this space of not just vegan business, but business in general, food service business, from a point of growth, from a point of facing challenges, and from a point of taking advantage of opportunities that lie in front of us?
So I'm definitely going to say the one thing I read, which is so true recently, and it said, when everybody goes right, go left. And I've always found that to be true. I've always found that doing the opposite of what everyone else does is a winning formula. And you have to believe in yourself and be confident in knowing what you know and doing what you do. Don't expect immediate results, but the results will be there. Don't be afraid to be your own individual in your own lane, no matter who else is in that lane as well. Do you and be authentic with who and what it is that you do. The other thing is pay attention. A lot of times, sometimes people can get into a situation because they were so far working so much with their head down that they were not able to see what was going on around them. And that's when then we see that people are closing their businesses. They have to close their doors, and they're like, oh, we're going to be closed in 2 weeks. And it's like, well, man, 2 weeks. But this is something that we've seen coming for a long time. And sometimes we're just steady trying to figure it out. At some point, stop trying to figure it out and just make the decision that needs to be made. Because like you said, a lot of times it's a setup for a come up. And I do believe that God sometimes is going to shut that door for you. If he's giving you the opportunity to do it and you're not taking it, he's going to do it for you, because he needs for you to sit down so that you can then move in the next direction, for your elevation. So don't be afraid to make those hard decisions, because those hard decisions usually turn out to be some of the best decisions for you. The other thing is to collaborate. go across the aisle. You should have other friends who are in your industry. You should know other people who are doing the same thing that you are doing, because you need a support system. You need a network. You need somebody that you can, bounce ideas off of. You should have a business confidant. You should have someone that you can sit down and bounce ideas off with, and you guys come up with a strategy and a plan. And that's the other part. It's about strategizing and planning. Everything comes down to the planning and the preparation of what you want to do. And don't be afraid. If it doesn't work, okay, you did it, you tried it, and go on. But definitely be adaptable. Definitely pay attention to what the trends are. People like to say, oh, well, you know what, I don't want to follow the trends. Well, unfortunately, we live in a trend society, and you can have your staples, you can have those things. I always say there are some businesses who, when you go to town, you come into town, you're like, oh, I have to go there because they have the best of this. They've been around for 30 or 40 years. If you don't have that type of niche, then you know what? You might want to follow some of these trends a little bit, because people they follow the trends. And that doesn't mean that you base your entire business around the trend because you want to build something that is stable and sustainable. But you have to constantly be changing and constantly be evolving. What you did 5 years from now, more than likely, you're going to have to change some of that up to go on to for the next 5 years. We cannot do what we've always been doing, because where is the growth? Where is the elevation? And if we want to grow and elevate, we have to be about change. This whole thing, with the tariffs. I remember that, like I said, I used to outsource something, and I was like, man, when I thought about the money that I spent outsourcing. So you have to educate yourself in your craft. Take courses, study. The internet is very resourceful. You can learn how to do anything with the access that we have for the internet. So really study your craft. Set yourself apart from everybody else, as much as you can. And don't be afraid to make changes,
I
but
agree everything that you're saying, especially when you talk about the trends, following some trends, but you can still be unique to what your business and your brand. Very, very important, because when you do the same thing, you get the same results. And a lot of times people don't get that, and then they wonder why they're still stuck and stagnant and having the same type of problems. You got to make that one change in order to be exposed to the new opportunities that you're deserving of. We work really hard. So in the case of Atlanta Kush, 14 years, just grinding it out, and it's been a struggle, up and down, just like the stock market goes up, come down, go up, come down. Now we're in a situation where the economy is affecting everything in terms of cost and how you get things, and we've had to change ingredients on a number of things. Things may not be the same, the texture, all of that, but you still got to keep keeping on. And then with the nonprofit, Black Veg Society, just being innovative. We don't want to operate like your old school nonprofit. It is not the same concept as you see how other nonprofits work. We're doing different things, and we're trying to bring out different projects and programs and events. We don't want to be like everybody else. We want to be different, So very important stuff. And I'm hoping that we could definitely get in a collab with My Mama's Vegan over here, whether it's with Lana Kush or whether it's through Black Veg, through a special event. And on that note, just got to put in a plug for Black Veg Society. Naja Speaks is a project of the Black Veg Society. So please, thank you for tuning in or watching the replay. Without the support of Black Veg Society, Naja Speaks wouldn't be possible. So please subscribe, support the program with your tax deductible dollars at blackvegsociety.org. That's how we're able to put on events like Vegan Soul Fest and Children's Veg Fest and Maryland Vegan Restaurant Month and the upcoming programs that are coming down in the next few months. So all of this stuff, we want to make it edutaining for people to learn about the lifestyle and understand and be enlightenment and empowered to make the right decisions for you and your family as it pertains to your health, the environment, and the animals. What would you say about partnerships, Debonair? What would be your best tips? Because I could tell you about partnerships, but I want to hear from you.
Really, Naja?
That's part of a woman business. My thing is, I would say be on the
I'm
same
gonna
page.
say I'm going to say that alignment is everything, and you all have to know what your reasons for the partnership are, because everybody can have a different reason as to why they're entering a partnership. And I think that you have to be really, 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 really clear. Everyone has to be clear, and you have to be so crystal clear on what everyone's reason is for the partnership. So what I've learned is that, number one, always have something for yourself. Regardless, you can partner with others, but always still have something for yourself, and know that a partnership is an investment, not just a monetary investment, but it's an investment in a relationship. So do you throw away the relationship? Do you work through the challenges? Because like any relationship, there are always going to be great times, and then there are going to be times that are not so great. And how do you all deal with that? Because and this is where you have to know how to take your emotions out of things. And one thing that I'm grateful for is that before this, my background was in corporate. We had no emotions. Okay, everything was very emotionless. All
Yes.
right.
Yes.
So it was very much black and white paper. There was it really was leave your problems at the door. I don't care what they are, and even though I still had empathy for people, I knew how to manage within those, within that. But at the end of the day, it was really about what is the goal? How are we going to reach the goal? Did we reach the goal? If we didn't reach the goal, why didn't we reach the goal? And how can we do better?
I like how you said that. If we did reach the goal, great. If we didn't reach the goal, why didn't we reach the goal, and how do we make it better? Sometimes when you get in partnerships, people are self-serving. The hoarding of information, not sharing. It's about me, and what I can get out of it. And we have to, like you said in the beginning, you have to have something for yourself. Sometimes there's partnerships where somebody's giving their all, and the expectation is for everybody to do the same. But maybe that's not what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Maybe people are doing what they're doing for themselves, and it's kind of like it's unbalanced. So I would say my advice is to make sure everything is balanced, and even, and the workload and distribution is across the board, because that can create a very frustrating environment. And
if it's not, how do you fix it?
Right,
And
exactly.
if it becomes unfixable, what's the next move? You know what I mean? Like, so, it's always like, okay, this is the issue. How do we correct it? And if it doesn't correct, what's next? Don't drag things out. You know what I mean? Because the one thing we know is the way we start, we finish. So understand that and decide. So how long are we going to do this? So I would definitely, look, I remember a pastor said one time, he said, and I remind my kids of this when they're dating. He said, for the first 6 months, you're dating the representative. After that, you start to date the person. So you definitely want to have built some type of relationship before the partnership, because maybe they're not a partner. Maybe they're more of an investor. Maybe they're more of a silent partner, and you have more creative control and control over this and that. Be really clear about what the roles are, and if the roles aren't being fulfilled, and always have an exit strategy on how you can, if the partnership needs to be dissolved. Does the business dissolve? Like, what does that look like? So there should always also be options, because again, partnership is a relationship. If it's great, it's great. We want to stay in it. We want to ride it out. But if it's not, do you stay in a dysfunctional relationship? One thing I believe in, we don't spin the block. You know, we're not circling the block here.
Right.
You know, so.
That's really good, y'all. You know, great advice. You know, things that we can grow on exactly and work
Yeah.
on challenges. So I appreciate you sharing that. Anything else you want to tell us before we go for the day?
Yeah, I would say have some grace on yourself, and you know, if you have to sit still. I heard Pinky say today that she had lost her company for 43 days, and on the 43rd day she brought it back, and you know, 7 is a number of completion, and
Ah,
she had to sit down for 43 days. And
wow.
sometimes you feel like when you have to sit or there's no movement, like something is wrong. Doesn't necessarily mean that something is wrong. It means that there's a transition, and sometimes we do have to sit with ourselves, you know what I mean, and take care of yourself, you know, and trust your gut and your instinct, and move off of less emotion. You know, try to take the emotions, try to take the emotions out of things, because emotions make things very cloudy, you know. But give yourself grace. If you're having a day, take that day, sit in it, and then the next day we need you to come out of it. But you know, take care of yourself.
Yes, I see you there, Eula. Shout out Eula, the queen of the bean. Love it, love it, love it. Eula makes some amazing bean soup. She has like this mushroom po' boy and this mushroom sandwich that I love. So shout out to Eula. Thank you for tuning in. Um, Folks, once again, let's make sure that if you're in the local area, you support My Mama's Vegan to get plated vegan kitchen takeover. My Mama's Vegan is going to be at Red Emma's this Friday, right? This
Yes, this
Friday,
Friday.
5 to 9, 5 to 9. And you
Mm-hmm.
can follow My Mama's Vegan on social media to get more information on that. I'll be out there. I'm probably going to be doing some live coverage. So to find out all the happenings, and
Mm-hmm.
definitely check out my sister Mother Queen, Mother the juices, because I love her juices. So yes, please go ahead and make sure that you head out there this Friday. Um, Debonair, on that note, I'm going to share some information about what's coming up in Planet Virginia. Our folks over at the Farm Organization, they are going to be at George Mason University. Let's share some information on their website. So, Planet Virginia, I believe they're in their second or third year, and they have a whole Planet series. Planet Virginia, Planet Maryland, 16 days to go. They want you to join them Sunday, April 27th from 11 until 6 at George Mason University. And this is a dog friendly venue. You can bring your dogs. Okay. It's a fun filled festival celebrating sustainability, health, and incredible food. 50 plus vendors, engaging talks from top experts, and interactive exhibits, and a planet play zone for children. So there will be something for the children. So if you, whether you're passionate about the planet or just passionate about great food, this is your chance to connect, learn, and indulge in delicious eats while making a difference. So don't miss out. You can go to planetseries.org, Virginia for that, and they will be in Maryland next month. And I'll talk to you about that as we move closer to that date. Let me just put that in the comments. Planet Series info. All right. Okay. All right. Well, Debonair, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. And until I see you again, please be well, be safe, and stay blessed. And that goes for all of you. Please share, 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 like. Somebody in business needs to hear this information. And hey, see you next week. Tune in every Thursday at noon. Naja Speaks. Go to
Thank you, Nada.
najaspeaks.com. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye bye.
You too. Bye.
Meeting you. where you are. The meaning behind the slogan is that we meet the community where they are, on their journey towards holistic health, a plant-based lifestyle, and veganism, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. We do this through people, food, events, and culture. Our 6 pillars are birth, eating, education, empowerment, enlightenment, and events. We are Black Veg Society.